changed with Coach Gannon. And again, we got to find players that fit our coach's scheme. That's the most important thing, that we're finding players that fit what we're trying to do offensively, defensively, on special teams. Obviously, TJ had a heck of a year, a really good year. We got a bunch of other young players at the position, and we'll just see what happens in free agency and the draft. But we're grading linebackers just like we're grading every other position.
Howie, when it comes to
left to right,
The last time we talked
right
to
to
you,
left.
the last time we talked to you at the end of the season, you and Nick were very confident saying Jalen's going to be your guy. After a month of, obviously more evaluation and research, do you still feel that way?
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I mean, I think that when you talk about all the things we talked about at the end of the season, nothing's changed. I think what really has changed for us is the opportunity to add. This is a great time of year for the Philadelphia Eagles, for us, for our staff, and being here and really getting everyone involved in the draft process. Start of free agency's up and coming, and so we got to continue to add good players. We got to continue to make sure that we're doing everything we can to maximize our players' ability to be successful, and certainly that starts at the quarterback position with Jalen. I'm gonna go like this. It's gonna be orderly.
With Jalen, it was reported that he had that ankle surgery after the season. Could you provide an update and the expected timeline on when he might be back on the field?
Yeah, I think for injuries, from an injury perspective, rather not get into injuries because that probably opens the door on all of them. But really optimistic about his readiness for the off-season program. I just said that and then I just did it. That's great.
Howie, how much do you balance how successful Stout's been in developing talent versus spending maybe a premium pick on an offensive lineman when you know you have the coaching jazz?
Well, Coach Stoutland, we go back a long time, him and I, and very, very fortunate to have him as our offensive line coach and working with him to make sure we get the right players. But as he would say this, and not taking away, he's the best offensive line coach in the NFL, not trying to insult anyone, but that's how we feel. And we got to give him talented guys. At the end of the day, these coaches could be as great as they possibly can be, but without talent, it doesn't help. So when we talk about players, we still need players with traits. It's hard to be an offensive line. It's not a natural thing to be moving backwards while guys are coming at you forwards, and especially the elite athletes that are on defense. So those guys are hard to find. You don't find them in any round. Obviously, there are going to be guys on the third day that we think have some unusual traits that we'd be interested in. But really, when you think about the guys who are really successful, you're talking about guys who have something unusual about them. And so we'll continue to keep looking for those guys because it's important to us.
Now, losing Ian Cunningham and Brandon Brown, what's the plan to replace them, and how does the timing affect the draft process?
Yeah, I miss those guys. I miss those guys already. Those guys are people that not only did we rely on professionally, but personally, just people I really enjoyed being around, friends. And it's hard for me because you see these guys and they have an opportunity to kind of help themselves and their families, but at the same time, it doesn't really help the Eagles, and especially the timing of this, which I think it's something maybe that we got to talk about going forward, about losing guys during this draft process, especially in your conference, one in your division. That's not ideal. In terms of how we're going to address it, I think that we're in the middle of this process right now. To stop this process and really get the right people and get the right structure in place, we probably got to take a step back, which we're not going to do right now. We're just not in that mode. So we have a lot of good people in our building. We have a lot of people ready to step up. We've been in situations where, in 2016 we had a decimated personnel department, and we were able to have a good offseason. So there's no excuses for that. Very confident, and obviously, we had all their reports, so we know what they think, and they may know a little bit about what I think too, which isn't great. I'm coming.
How valuable is it that you know what Nick wants in his schemes, and yet you have 3 first-round picks and salary cap flexibility for this offseason?
I think that when you look at the first year with a coaching staff and their willingness, especially this coaching staff, to take some of the guys that we have and say, let me see how this guy looks in my system. And now instead of having hypothetical situations, you have tape on that, you have film on that, and we can walk through, all right, this is what we thought about this guy, this is how he fits. That's huge in terms of evaluating our own team, which is the first thing we got to do. We got to evaluate our own team. And then you talk about those picks, but it's not just those picks. It's utilizing the cap space on guys that fit our scheme. It's utilizing the other draft picks on guys who fit our scheme. It's if we make a trade, finding guys that fit what we're trying to do offensively and defensively, and going from there.
To follow up on that, though, Howie,
I'm going. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, that's fair.
So, your
Gotta adjust.
Your defensive coordinator is interviewing for head coaching jobs. How do you safeguard against overfitting for the scheme as opposed to just getting good players?
Yeah, he's a phenomenal coach, a phenomenal person, and really excited that we're going to have him back because we're probably renting him. He's that good of a coach and that good of a person. But I think when we look at it, the way that we're playing defense and the way that he wants to play defense and our coaches want to, it's something that's sustainable. It's not like we're drafting guys for specific roles that won't adjust if in the future we had to do something different. And I think that's important because we don't want to get in a situation where, if we lose one person, now all of a sudden we got to start over from scratch. We can't do that. You can't do that in this league. And so I don't think that's going to be an issue.
How do you address, or how do you differentiate between what you guys might be able to do in free agency because you have the money that you hadn't had in past years with what you can get out of the draft?
Well, I think the order of operations matters here, right? So you're talking about you'll have free agency, you'll have the opportunity to see where you are, but you also don't want to get in a situation where that you don't take the best player, that you don't take a guy who's really good just because you address something in free agency. So I think what free agency does is it allows us to check boxes so we don't feel the pressure to maybe feel like we have to do something, assuming that it works out in free agency, and that's kind of how we'll look at it.
The recent history of teams that have 3 or maybe more first-round picks, it's kind of a mixed bag, maybe not what those teams had hoped in retrospect. Have you done a lot of research on that, or is there something to be gleaned from it?
Yeah, thanks for reminding me about the bad results. I think that no. I think that when the draft as a whole is like that, right? It goes in the first round, and obviously you can break it down 1 through 10, 11 through 20, 21 through 32, and the percent. It's not like it's 100%. It's not like you're picking in the top 5. It's 100%. So you're going to have those numbers. I think what allows you to do is allows you to have more shots at really good players, really talented players. Gives you more flexibility to move up and down the draft board. It gives you more ammunition to decide if at some point you wanted to trade a pick for a player, and that's what we're really looking for. When you think about the National Football League, it's all about resource allocation. So it's basically every team has the same salary cap number. Basically every team has a number of draft picks. If you can get an edge either by creating cap room or by getting more draft picks, now you have more shots to take. And so I think that's what we're really excited about, is that we got more shots than we've had in the past couple of years.
You have to make 3 first-round picks is what I'm getting at, though? Like, you have the ammunition there, right? So, okay.
No.
Howie, how do you evaluate the quarterback draft?
I'm coming down. I'm sorry.
How do you evaluate the quarterback draft class as a whole?
We're in the middle of that evaluation. I think it's really important to see guys throw live as you're evaluating quarterbacks. We'll get that chance if they let us down in the lower bowl to watch guys. I think there'll be a bunch of fans, so maybe Coach and I will mix in with the fans a little bit. But I always feel like the public perception is it always goes one way or the other. This is a great quarterback draft. This is a terrible quarterback draft, and it's usually somewhere in the middle. But to say that we have our final judgments on any position group at this time, we're just starting, kind of getting all the information together so we can make good decisions.
Howie, are you in the middle right now, or are you guys still renegotiating a contract for Miles Sanders? And if not, how's the status of that? If not, or you guys feel as you guys have to readjust your draft strategy to find another running back to replace him in the future if it doesn't sign?
We'll never discuss contract negotiations with any player. It's just kind of private business, the player's business, really, and we want to keep that as private as we can. Miles, a heck of a player, heck of a person. I think you saw a lot, too. We had guys who were in their 4th year last year. Whether you go back and you look at Sweaty and you look at Dallas and you look at Avante and you look at Jordan, guys like that. Maybe I'm missing a couple of guys who even became better in their 4th year in the league. And so, we haven't even seen everything Miles can give this team. Obviously, he's been really productive. I know he wants to get in the end zone as well. But I think the best is yet to come from Miles.
Now, you wouldn't be doing your due diligence if you didn't look at every position around the league, especially quarterback. Bruce Arians said yesterday he doesn't expect a top-tier quarterback to be wrestled free from the team. So how do you view that market, and where do you stand in regards to Deshaun Watson and the possibility that he could be
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear the second part.
Stand in regards to Deshaun Watson and the possibility that he can be traded for.
Well, I think it goes to the question that we started this press conference on. We have Jalen Hurts, who's a 23-year-old quarterback who led his team to the playoffs, and he's going to get better and better and better. He's going to do everything possible to get better, and we got to do our part in that. In terms of players on different teams, no matter what position, don't feel comfortable, can't talk about players on other teams. What's going on in the league? I think that's part of what we missed here the last couple of years. I think you kind of come here and you kind of start hearing some things about what's going on at each positions, and you just try to gather information. I'm not talking about the quarterback position. I'm talking about in general. You try to gather information about what's going on and what opportunities there are to improve our football team.
The pass rush was second to last in sacks.
I'll come back in.
Behind Devontae, do you see any of those guys taking a step forward?
Well, when you look at Quez, I think Quez had a heck of a year, really, when you look at him and really transitioning to a position he didn't play in college as a slot receiver. The guy's extremely talented, extremely hardworking. We talked about at the end of the season, we need Jalen to take another step. We need Jalen to do some of the things that we drafted him to do. He knows that. There's no secret about that. We've told him the same things. And I guess after that, it's opportunity. Now, when we go through this draft, obviously it's a really good draft class. We have 10 picks. We have 9 through the first 5 rounds. So you'll have opportunities in the draft where you'll go, hey, that guy's a good fit for what we're doing offensively. That guy's a good receiver. We'll see how free agency goes as well.
This pass rush was second to last.
Round picks change anything about your process in the lead up to the draft?
Well, we have to constantly evolve our process. I think if we're sitting here saying like everything's perfect and everything's work, I mean that would be disingenuous. And so we have to constantly evolve and figure out, and we really try to do that a lot in May, June, July, figure out what we've done right, what we've done wrong, what the rest of the league's done right, what the rest of the league's done wrong. And so I don't think that changes with the number of first-round picks we have. I think it just heightens the opportunity that we have.
Howie, class, I know it's early yet, but what's your take on the group, and how important is it going to be to sort of restore the pass rush going into next year?
Well, the first part about that, the draft class, it was a good start, but I think when you look at this league, the most important thing is consistency over time, not being flash in the pans, doing things and getting better. We talk about the jump from year 1 to year 2 and how important it is to improve. I think about the things these guys are going through right now. A guy like Devontae or Landon, where maybe Landon's not a good example because he was rehabbing, but Devontae, who's going through all the pro days and having all the Zoom interviews, and he's not really focused on the things he can do to get better. He's focused on where he's going to go, how he's going to live, who's going to come with him, where he's going to function. Now he doesn't have to do that. Now it's all ball for him. So we expect a big jump, but it also talks to the character and the football intangibles those guys had, and I think our scouts did a great job of doing that and bringing those to the front.
Howie, this pass rush was second to last.
I'm coming back.
Howie, Andre Dillard could probably start on other teams in the league, doesn't have a starting spot on your roster now. What kind of interest did you get in him last year at the trade deadline and so far this offseason?
It's hard to find offensive linemen who can move and who can bend, and the amazing thing is Andre's working out every day right now. I'm not allowed to really talk to him about anything, but you can see, he looks great. Upper body, lower body, he's really determined. He wants to play. I think that just to think that he can only play left tackle limits him and probably does him a disservice. But having a really good offense line is important. Having depth on the offense line is important. We started 15 guys this year. Now, I'm cheating on that number a little, Jimmy, because we started 5 guys in the last game of the year. But I like when I say 15 guys. But at a minimum, we started 10 in games that we really needed them. And it just shows you can never have enough offense linemen.
Last pass rush was second to last in sacks last year. What must be done to fix it? And is this edge rusher class the strength of the draft?
I got to learn from some of my mistakes I've made in the past. So I'm, in terms of talking about strengths of a draft class, I don't know that I want to go there. There are good players at every position in this draft. In terms of the sack number, it's also how you want to play, right? And for us, we want to get pressure on the quarterback. It's not only in the sack numbers, that, Zach. There's other ways to judge that. But the bottom line is we didn't get enough pressure on the quarterback. We got to have pressure on the quarterback. We got to continue to have pressure on the quarterback. It's a priority to us. We'll have opportunities this offseason to do it, and I would be very surprised if we didn't do something there. Famous last words. Definitely going to regret those.
Sweet. All right.
Thanks, guys.
Coming up next.
shooter. Nick, have you gotten
Then I'm telling you who we interviewed and stuff like that. I'm not going there. There's some good shots though.
Nick, have you gotten any indication from Jason Kelsey on what his plans are for next season?
We've been in communication. We're hopeful. And there's been no final decision made. The keg has been sent to his house, and I think it got delivered today, courtesy of Lower Marion Beverages. So appreciate them helping out with that.
Nick, with your offensive line, if Jason does decide to come back, at left guard and right guard, you'll have Isaac coming back, you'll have Jack Driscoll, you'll have Landon, obviously. I'm sure you're going to say that's a good problem to figure out, but do you kind of have an idea of how those pieces might fall out?
I mean, there's a lot of things that are dependent on that, right? You got to go through the off season, you got to go through all the things, and everybody's got to get back from injuries, get back into the swing of things, see where there's just a lot of things. We don't have to make that decision for quite some time. So I was fortunate to come to a team that had great offense and defensive line depth, and that we had some bumps and bruises this year that we really needed to rely on that. And so it is a great problem to have the depth that we have there. And I know a lot of guys are going to be able to play and ready to play and want to play, and we'll have to make a decision on who those guys are and what the right lineups are as we go through it.
Is Landon kind of like the lead guy to be the center?
That's a hypothetical scenario. Like, obviously we think through everything, and we have some good options there. And again, we're exploring even more options through the free agency and through the draft. So not something we have to decide right away, but I feel like we have good options.
The last time we talked to you was right after the season. As you've had some more time to look back at Jalen Hurts, the totality of his season as a starter, what did you make of it?
Yeah, we're still going through that process of evaluating our season. It starts early on, and you go through the things of the write-ups of the players, what the needs are of the team, this and that, and then you start watching each individual cut-up of all your different concepts and different things that you did. And as you watch more and more, and as you think about it more and more, you're just pleased with the progression that Jalen has made. And I think that's common of who Jalen Hurts is as a player and as a quarterback, that he just continues to get better, whether that's from Alabama to Oklahoma, or Oklahoma to his first year in the NFL, or first year to second year. And we just know that progression is going to continue. And it's not just because we've seen the progression go like that. It's because of the person that he is, and he loves football. This guy loves football, and he's just willing to do the things that he needs to do to get better, and that's why he does continue to get better. And guys like, he's tough, he's competitive, he's got high football IQ, he's got high general character in himself, and those are things that we're looking for in the draft prospects that we're going through right now. Like, do these guys have these things in their body or in their DNA? Because those are our experiences, those are the guys that reach their ceiling. And so Jalen Hurts has all those things, and he's going to only continue to get better. And when we looked at all our tape and we evaluated our tape again, like we're still going through it, you could see the progression of him getting better throughout the year in different things. And he led us to the playoffs, and obviously we want to go further than that. And we're really confident that Jalen's a guy that can help us do that.
The rest of the playoffs and the Super Bowl and the passing offenses and the throwers change or make you evaluate Jalen in the position?
No, as you watch any high-level football, right, at the end of the year, right, whether it's the Super Bowl or the AFC or the NFC Championship game, whether it's the Final Four in the bowl series, or if it's the state championship games, right? What you see is great offense and defensive lines, and you see great quarterback play, right? And so I don't think that's a secret, and that's what we see at all levels. We have a lot to improve on as an entire team, but like I said with the question earlier, I just see him continuing to grow. And so what you want them to do is you want to make good, accurate throws and good quick decisions. And I think you see throughout the NFL is a common theme that is becoming even more common of quarterbacks playing long and playing and continuing to play good. I mean, you saw that with Tom Brady, obviously, throughout his entire career. He had an unbelievable career and just continued to get better. I was able to see that firsthand with Phillip Rivers, to come into the middle of his career and then just see him get better as I was there with him, and just see how is a guy that's getting older getting better. And at that position, it's because he's seen everything and they've went through everything. They've seen every different coverage that they could see against this particular concept. And that's what we're hopeful that Jalen continues his progression upwards with the amount of reps that he gets. And you try to do as many things as you can in the off season to simulate that. But again, we're not by any means a finished product. And so we're really, I know what the quarterbacks, how the quarterbacks played and got their teams to the championship games and to the Super Bowl. And we know that that's what we got to do to get ourselves there. And I think Jalen's the type of guy that's going to maximize his potential, again, because of who he is as a football player.
Offense, schematically and doing those things over the course of the offseason. How much is it like fixing the offense itself versus finding things with Jalen in mind? Like, are you looking back at other like run-based quarterback offense?
Yeah. Again, it's evaluating yourself and evaluating your scheme and how do you make your scheme better. And then it's, hey, well, maybe we're a little deficient in this area. And we all have to be honest with ourselves of what we're deficient in. And whether that's me as a head coach and in the messaging to the team or anything what am I deficient in? How do I make us better in that area? All right, as an offensive coordinator and as an offensive staff, what are we deficient in and how we get ourselves better at that? And so that's kind of the process of like, hey, let's evaluate our stuff. How can we do our stuff better? And then what can we take from different areas and get better at that particular thing? And so that's kind of the progression right now of what we're going through. And so again, in our message in that is like, and our message to the players too, and my end of year meetings with them is like, hey, if we can all identify one issue that we have or one thing that we have and make that better, imagine how good much better our team will be as a whole if all of us, coaches, players, people in the front office, can take one of our inefficiencies and get a little bit better at it. And so that's not, that's the messaging we have throughout the entire year. How do we get a little bit better at, each day? And that's what we're trying to live by right now in the off season.
The whole idea of having a basketball hoop brought in here, how did that come about and what's the point of it?
I've become a Villanova fan as I've been living over there. So it has a Villanova backboard on it. But, so last year, I don't think everyone liked my rock, paper, scissors stuff last year. No, but in all seriousness, like, if we can figure out when we get in there a little bit of their competitiveness, if we can get a little sense of that, that's a plus, right? We'll do anything to figure out some of the answers to the test, right? Whether it's, hey, can we figure out a little bit more about the player's toughness? Can we figure out a little bit more about the player's competitiveness? Can we figure out a little bit more about the player's love for football? Can we figure a little, like, we'll do what we need to do that. And so, do you always get that answer by shooting 5 baskets before they start off? No. But in my past, I think I've told the story about my experience with Gardner Minshew when he came into Indianapolis and the shooting that we did. Now it was on a 10-foot hoop and we were in our indoor facility shooting baskets. And I got to know a lot about him from that. And look, it benefited us this year, just me knowing a little bit about him and what makes him tick a little bit. But again, you might come away from that and say, I didn't get anything from that. But one thing we do realize that it does is it is a good icebreaker. It does lower the guard of the player a little bit to know that, we like to have fun. We like to compete. And now let's get into the interview and get more of that information of what we want from, about your love of the game, your knowledge of the game, etc. We have not yet. I'm not in a rush to do that. But that's a Jim Bob did a lot for us, and so and I valued the things that he did, and I know the entire offensive staff valued the things that Jim Bob did. So that's not an easy person to replace, but we'll do what we need to do to replace Jim Bob, and obviously I'm happy for him that he's back into the pass game coordinator role, because no doubt in my mind he'll be a coordinator again soon, and hopefully a head coach soon after that. So.
Now that you know Gannon's back, what's the next step for this defense?
Yeah, same thing. We're going through the process of where we're efficient, where we're inefficient, and try to improve those things. And so, in this particular case, it's identifying players. Again, obviously the guys we're looking at have talent, right? But then identifying the things that the things that you might not see always on tape: the toughness, the competitiveness, the love of football, the football IQ, and the character. To be able to go through the ups and downs of the season. And so that's not just a defensive thing. That's with everybody. And it's the same thing that I challenge our players to do. Right? What's our weakness? How are we getting it better? Because if we can do that as a whole, as a team, we know how much strides we can make as an entire team.
In your evaluation of Jalen Hurts, potential going forward, like how much do you weigh, the possible additions you can make, like, a receiver or running back, tight end, whatever, as far as how much better he can get?
Yeah, I mean, that as you go through, you're gonna lose. This team's never gonna look the same, and so obviously you're always in this mission and this to make your team as good as you possibly can, and with as much talent as you can, with the right type of guys as you can, to be able to handle the ups and downs of the season. And so naturally, as the team gets better around him, he's just going to continue to excel. In our opinion, I think that's just natural. If you have good players around you, you're going to continue to excel. And so why was Jalen able to do some of the things he did this year? Is because we had a strong nucleus around him with the offensive line. That really helped. That's huge when you can have a center like Jason Kelce be able to help identify defenses, and you can have be very confident in your right side and your left side because of tackles like Lane Johnson and Jordan Mailata, and then have a guy like Devontae Smith to throw the ball to, and the speed with Quez Watkins, and have the running game with the four backs that we had there, and Dallas Goedert that it's shorthanded. So. You're always looking to improve that, but we know that we have a good, strong base of our team that we're really confident in, and we just look to get that better because everybody succeeds. As Jalen, as the talent gets better around him, he gets better, and that's just not Jalen. That's the entire team.
How's the combine different for you as the head coach? And some head coaches aren't coming. Why is it important for you to be here?
I think I value this time to be able to look the player in the eye, and you don't get. It's not like you get that with every player. You have a certain amount of formal interviews that I'm able to sit in there for, but you're able to sit there, look him in the eye, be able to see his body language, see how he answers different questions, and then to see him work out in person. Again, this is a piece of the puzzle. There's many pieces of the puzzle that go into get. We have 30 visits coming up, and we have pro days and private workouts and Zoom interviews. Like, there's so many different opportunities to meet the player. I guess, like, I'm not going to be able to go to every pro day. I'm not going to be able to go to every private workout or anything like that. So it's good to be able to get my eyes on him here. It's good to be able to see, I'm 6'3". It's good to be able to stand next to him and say, oh, this guy's, or look at his legs and be like, oh, he's got thick legs, or whatever it is. Like, it's just good to be around the guys and see him work out and get to put a face and to, who you've been watching on tape.
You and Howie both talked about Jalen Hurts and how you feel like he's going to continue to progress because of who he is off the field, on the field, etc. What do you want to see specifically next year as that continued progression for him?
I think when you look at a quarterback, there's many different things you're looking at, but the four main things you're always looking at is accuracy. You're looking at decision making, at the ability to create, and you're seeing if he's above the line in arm strength. Well, I think there's no question that Jalen Hurts has the arm strength to make all the throws. He's well above the line to be able to make the throws, in whether it's Atlanta in the first game of the year or whether it's Philly the last game of the year with some different type of weather. So we're confident in that. He has amazing ability to create whether things break down and the receiver may not get open or there's a breakdown in the offensive line. And what we saw throughout the year is that not only can he create with his legs and make big plays with his legs, as the year went on, you saw him become a weapon when he would move in the pocket, create in the pocket, and find his receivers down the field. You saw us create some explosive plays that way. And so those two things, are a non-issue, and they're just things that he's going to continue to excel at. You just want to see him continue to get better with his accuracy, and you want to see him continue to get better with his decision making. I mentioned it earlier. Decision making. It's about your mind. Recalling the things that have happened in the past and knowing, okay, last time I saw this, I went here with the ball. Here we go. Oh shoot! Last time I saw this, I went here with the ball, but this happened, and I did this. So it's just he's just got to continue to get more and more and more reps, right? He's had a full season and a couple other games. So it's 21 games that he's had of this, and so he's just got to continue to see that. And to be able to speed up his processing over and over and over again. And I have no doubt, because of who Jalen is, that he'll continue to do that. And then as far as his accuracy, he's gonna continue. I know he'll continue to get better at that, again, because he works at it. And so by no means am I saying that is those are the things that we know he needs to work on. He knows he needs to work on, and that I have no doubt that he'll continue to get better at. Go ahead, honest.
You talked about losing Brandon Brown in the front office. How much
You're upset anytime somebody leaves that is valuable to the organization. Obviously he's in the front office. I'm with the coaching staff, but obviously there's a lot of communication back and forth. So you're upset anytime you lose anybody good, whether that's a player, whether that's a coach, whether that's somebody in the front office. But obviously very happy for him and his development and his advancement in his career. I wish him nothing but the best. I wish it would have been with the Jets, but it's with the Giants. So I wish him the best of luck. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Nick.